All right, hi everyone. Welcome to this live post-game edition, live on YouTube. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV, and Sal Maiorana on the press box at Highmark Stadium. Final season opener there in the last season in that stadium, Sal, which has seen so much since it came into existence back in 1973. A lot of history and a 41-40 come from behind win over the Baltimore Ravens. 16 unanswered points in the final 4 minutes of the game. It certainly adds to that history, doesn't it? Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. I was not believing in the Bills for a long time in this game. I mean, it was not good at all for 3.5 quarters, right? The defense was just egregiously bad. And then when it absolutely got down to nut crunching time, Adam, the defense came up with punt, fumble, punt. And that gave Josh Allen the opportunity that he needed to pull this thing out. And they score, what was it, 16 points at the end there?
Yep.
I think I had it right in my wrong.
16 in the final 4 minutes. 16 in the final four.
That's insane. So, was not expecting to be talking about a Bills victory. Had most of my immediate story written, how bad they were on defense. What a terrible opening night loss to a really good team. And then to have it flip like that was just, I mean, you mentioned it. 53 years in this place. We have both seen some amazing things. This one has to catapult, certainly top 10, right, of all time, most improbable Bills victories we've seen.
Yeah. What about the poise the team showed late? What do you make of that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a disastrous night in so many ways on the defensive side, as you said, which we'll get into a little bit here as we continue here. We welcome your comments, questions, whatever, as we go here. But I mean, and of course, led by Josh Allen, who was just masterful and surgical with the game on the line.
He was great. I mean, look, for 3 quarters, they were scoring. It wasn't like the offense was anemic all night long, but compared to what Baltimore was doing, Josh was not keeping pace. They're down 40-25 with 4 minutes to go. So obviously there were some problems, but the resilience that this team showed to keep pushing forward. Let's face it, the best fans in the NFL that they call themselves, there were tens of thousands who weren't here at the end of the game because it was not looking good. But Allen kept with it. The defense, like I said, gave him, Baltimore had scored on 7 of its 8 possessions in this game. When it was 40-25 and they got the first stop, which it almost felt like, Adam, the Ravens were kind of punching the clock at that point. They figured this game was over and they really didn't do anything to try to get a first down on that possession. Well, right away, the Bills go down and score. So now it's a 1-score game. And then the Derrick Henry fumble happened, which was obviously the biggest play of the game. That's what turned the game. I mean, if that doesn't happen, I feel pretty safe to say that Lamar Jackson gets it done, gets a couple first downs, and pretty much runs the clock out. The Derrick Henry fumble turned around everything. And from that point on, now it was the Ravens over there squeezing a little bit.
Yeah, forced by Ed Oliver, by the way.
Yeah.
Who had himself one hell of a game tonight.
For a defense that gave up 40 points, he actually had a pretty good game.
6 tackles, I think, a sack. And, of course, the forced fumble, which was so impactful, was the play of the game. And that's what they're looking for from him on a more consistent – you're not going to get that every game, but they're looking for that more consistent level of performance. And boy, he starred in this thing tonight.
Yeah, he was terrific. I mean, look, he's also partially to blame for Derrick Henry steamrollering them for whatever it ended up being. I think he had 175 or something. I don't know what it ended up being. But so he's part of the problem there. But when they needed a big play to be made, I mean, he had the sack early in the game, which was a terrific play to get Jackson down. That was the one possession that the Ravens didn't score out of their first 8. And then to have this happen at the end where he pokes the ball out. That almost didn't work out because I forget who it was who whiffed on the recovery because he tried to pick it up and scoop and score, and he whiffed. Luckily, Bernard was able to get it, and that was the moment where you're starting to think, holy Christ, they're going to be able to – if they take it in here, now you got a chance. And sure enough, they took advantage of it.
Looking at the stats, Derrick Henry, 28, 169, 9.4 yards per carry, couple of touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 19, 209, 2 TD, no interceptions, rushed 6 times for 70 and a touchdown. Okay. So, I mean, you're dealing with just an exceptional offense. And oh, by the way, Zay Flowers in the passing game, what they were able to do and what it revealed, Cole Bishop, obviously the concerns were legitimate about the safety position. And we can get into what happened and what didn't happen defensively in this game. And I guess, what does it say about Buffalo's defense? Because when you're playing Baltimore, it's an extreme, it was an embarrassing night for a long period of time for that defense until they made the key plays at the end. What's your assessment of the defense, where things stand relative to the questions we all had about that unit prior to the season? What does this game in and of itself say about that?
Look, coming into the game, I was worried about the Bills defense. And like we said, I wrote it all week. We said it on the show. This was about the worst possible matchup this Bills defense could have had for week 1, given, you're starting a rookie at cornerback. You've got Cole Bishop at safety, 2 rookie defensive tackles that are going to be moved in and out of the game. It was not a good matchup for the Bills defense. And let's face it, they got embarrassed. I don't care. Look, they made 3 key stops at the end. Kudos to them. But the rest of the night was a flat out embarrassment. So they've got a lot to clean up. And it was all the same problems and concerns that we had. We kind of figured that Derrick Henry was going to go off. He did. Zay Flowers going against his secondary was going to go off. He did. But again, you've got Josh Allen on your team, Adam, and you give him just a little bit of hope, and he was magical. This is going to go down as one of his greatest victories without doubt, because they were dead in the water until the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, 394 yards passing for Josh Allen. Yeah. And just like I said earlier in the show, the poise that he shows, just the, MVP, right? That's a superlative. But when you see a game like this play out, just like the demeanor, everything about it, how level-headed he was and how well they were able to execute to get this victory. Hey, look, Matt Prater, right? Here's a situation where Tyler Bass is going to miss the first 4 games with that pelvic soreness or whatever. They go out and sign the veteran, and here he is, 3 for 3 with a long of 43, 2 for 2 in the PATs and the 32-yard field goal, beautifully timed and executed as time expires to win the thing. Not bad.
I would say, Tyler Bass, take your time. Make sure you're perfectly healthy. Adam, look, I mean, Bass has been a good kicker. He's had some moments where it hasn't gone well, but I did not have an ounce of concern with Matt Prater at any point in this game. Like, I just didn't. Even on the extra point, sometimes you hold your breath with Tyler Bass because he's actually, for whatever reason, he struggled on extra points a little bit. I never had a doubt that Prater was going to do well in the game. He kicked off. He only made the one mistake on a kickoff. He put one yard deep, and it cost him, the 35. Otherwise, he had a perfect night. And the field goal, I had no doubt. I mean, I had absolutely zero doubt that he was going to make that kick. Now, it was only a 32-yarder. He damn well should have made it. But if Tyler Bass had gone out there, Adam, I guarantee you half this stadium would have been holding their breath. And that's, again, it's not a knock on him because he's been a good kicker. But there's just been too many moments where he's been shaky. And this would have been deplorable if whoever kicked would have missed that kick at the end after all they went through to get to that point.
All right, we're kind of jumping all over the place here, but just, I like you with the writing and the pure chaos that goes on when a game has so many twists and turns like this one did. Keon Coleman, 8 receptions, 112 yards, had the touchdown on the deflection. What were your impressions of him at the beginning of a year where so much more is expected?
Yeah, I mean, look, Adam, early in the first 3 quarters of the game, Jay Skursky and I are sitting next to each other, and we're talking about nobody can get open. They have no downfield passing game. Everything was short, underneath stuff, Shakir, the running backs, even some of the receivers. It was a lot of short stuff. They were not able to get open against this Baltimore secondary, And we were thinking like, man, where's Josh Palmer? I mean, what is this? We're not even seeing anything. Keon Coleman, typical inconsistent Coleman, has a drop, steps out of bounds on the 2-pointer, which cost him that play. I mean, and then all of a sudden it changed. It was crazy how all of a sudden these guys were getting open. I don't know what happened with Baltimore. I mean, their defense is a pretty good defense, and they crumbled. I mean, I didn't hear what Harbaugh had to say, but he must be pissed. He's got to be so pissed that his team blew this game. There's nobody in this stadium. Well, I shouldn't say that. Nobody in the press box who thought the Bills were going to win this game. Really, from, I would say, the midway point of the second quarter on, it felt like there's no way the Bills are going to win because they could not stop Baltimore. And Buffalo's offense for part of this game was not very functional. Things were not going well, especially in the downfield passing game. So, yeah, it's kind of a stunning victory for sure.
Well, and one that could loom large later on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you don't want to make too much out of season openers. We've learned that so many times through the years covering this team and covering the National Football League. But again, you feel like these two teams are going to be contending right at the top of the AFC. And an outcome like this, you made the point about Harbaugh. I mean, this can determine seeding and home field advantage, given the way things might play out.
And it's funny, last year, this is exactly how we felt in week 4 when the Ravens beat the hell out of the Bills. And you're thinking that early in the season, that could come back to haunt the Bills because this could mean they'd have to go, if they play, they'd have to go to Baltimore. Well, as it turned out, the Ravens lost. They lost a few games they probably shouldn't have lost last year. Buffalo was able to get the home field. So now Buffalo starts with that advantage, at least early in the season. Long way to go. We'll see how it plays out. But you're right. There's no doubt that these two teams in Kansas City, even though the Chiefs lost, I still think they're a team that's going to be right there at the end. It's going to come out with these seedings. Buffalo's got to beat Kansas City too. If they could do that and take care of the rest of their business, they should be in pretty good shape, you would think, once postseason time comes.
Last point I wanted to get to, and again, I apologize, getting back to the defense. What were your impressions of what took place at cornerback? The situation at CB2, we were very, very concerned about. Benford did not have one of his best games tonight.
No, he didn't. You didn't. You're right. That was one thing that I was thinking about too. They weren't. I was figuring that he was going to be a lonely dude all night. Like they weren't even going to bother throwing his way. They would just keep going to the other side with Dorian Strong out there. They didn't. They went after Benford. He was very good in run support. I thought, no, I shouldn't say that. There was a lot of bad runs, but he was active as a tackler in the run game, which was good. But they did get over on him a couple times in the passing game. It was. Look, the Bills' defense was terrible. I mean, McDermott's not going to say that in the post game, which I just sat through, because they did win the game. But he knows that there's a lot of work that they have to do. Now, the good news is, Adam, they did just play one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, I still believe that Baltimore, they scored 40 points. I still believe they're going to be a great offense. So it should get a little easier for the Bills' defense moving forward. But, man, there was just too many mistakes tonight. They've got to clean it up.
And you look at what lies ahead. I mean, they're able to somehow get this victory. Now they're at the Jets, at home against Miami, New Orleans, New England, then at Atlanta before the bye. So to be able to get sort of an upper hand right out of the gate in the AFC, and now with a real chance to stack wins. Now, you don't want to take anything for granted. How much of a concern is that defense relative to some of these opponents? I mean, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, that's a lot to get corrected. I understand they're playing Baltimore and a supremely balanced and talented team offensively, and you don't want to overreact. But when you say they have work to do, you're probably understating it a little bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Look, again, like we said, they're not going to play Baltimore every week, but look at the Jets, Adam. They just put 32 on the Steelers. Steelers have a pretty good defense, and they put 32 on them, almost won that game today. So anybody who thinks the Bills are going to stroll into Meadowlands next week and blow the Jets away, I would tap the brakes on that. I think the Jets will give them a test. I'm not saying that I think the Bills will win the game, but I think that'll be a test for Buffalo. Miami looked horrible, so they play them in week 3. I'm not too concerned about that. And the Patriots, I don't know what to make of the Patriots, but you're right. They have an opportunity here with the way their schedule lays out for these first 6 weeks there's no reason to believe that they can't open the season 6-0 if their defense just makes a little bit of improvement, because what we saw with this offense tonight, it looks like they're going to be able to do exactly what they did last year.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, Sal?
No, like I said, it was just for the 53rd and final home opener, it lived up to all the hype. There's a lot of hype about the Bills, a lot of love around the NFL, thinking that this could be the year for the Bills. And maybe this is an omen, Adam. Maybe this is that magical season that we've been waiting our whole lives for, because this one should have been an L, and they're walking away 1-0 and in first place by themselves in the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the AFC divisional playoff last year, where the Bills, were able to get the benefit of those 3 turnovers or whatever, that Baltimore let that one get away, was self-inflicted. I mean, this one, my goodness, the rallying from 15 down in the final 4 minutes against an opponent like that. Bills 1-0 after a 41-40, just unthinkable almost victory over the Baltimore Ravens in the opener at Highmark Stadium as time literally expires. So for Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV. Bills at Jets next week. Thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.